This story is titled, After Saying I Was a Parasite Who Ruined Their Retirement, My Parents Sent Me a Bill for $3,600 and said, pay it, or we're suing you for emotional damages. I laughed and replied, then sue me for every memory you gave me. That night, I did something that sent the whole family into meltdown. Now they're leaving me voicemails like, please, your mother's on her knees, just undo it. I'm typing this from a Waffle House parking lot at 2:17 a.m. Phone at 12% battery and hands still shaking. I don't know if it's from rage or disbelief or just heartbreak. I left home 6 hours ago after reading a 6-page PDF my parents taped to my bedroom door, titled, and I'm not kidding, Invoice for Damages Incurred, itemized, highlighted, $3,600 worth of back rent, emotional labor, and, this one made me laugh out loud, psychological wear and tear due to long-term proximity to depressive energy. I'm 25. I've been living at home for a year and a half after losing my job in a city that chewed me up and spat me out with zero savings. I help out, I clean, I fix every tech issue. I made a damn Google Calendar for my mom so she'd stop missing her therapy appointments. But none of that counts, apparently. Let me rewind. My parents, Mark, 58, and Diane, 56, are not monsters. They're just the kind of people who believe respect only flows upward, the kind who think kids should be grateful just to exist, the kind who call you ungrateful if you don't say thank you for being raised. Growing up, I was always the emotional one. My older brother, Jake, 28, is their favorite, no question. Jake could crash the car and somehow it'd be my fault for distracting him. He once spilled red wine on mom's white rug and blamed it on bad lighting. She apologized to him. Meanwhile, if I so much as sighed during dinner, I'd get a, what's your problem now? I moved out at 19, stayed gone, until the pandemic hit, jobs dried up, and rent in my city became a bad joke. Coming back felt like defeat, but I told myself it'd be temporary, and it was going okay. Until about 3 months ago when Jake moved back in too. Suddenly everything changed. My room became his office. I was told to make do in the den. No door, no privacy, just a couch and a broken ceiling fan. Jake got the nice plates, I got paper towels. My mom would literally hand me the grocery bill while praising Jake for finally eating healthy. I joked once that I was the house ghost. My dad laughed. Yeah, well, ghosts don't need food or showers, so we're overpaying. I tried to laugh. I really did. But it got harder every day. Then tonight, the PDF. It was taped to my door with Jake's old honor roll magnet. Bold header, invoice, failure to launch. I thought it was a joke. I really did, until I read the footnote. Failure to comply will result in legal action for emotional damages. Emotional damages. I laughed, then cried, then packed. And just before I walked out, I slipped a single envelope under the door. No return address. Just one line written in Sharpie. Then sue me for every memory you gave me. They haven't read it yet, but they will. And when they do, they'll realize this isn't over. When I say Jake was the favorite, I don't mean in the casual, he got the front seat more kind of way. I mean in the, my mom once said out loud at a family reunion, Jake was our miracle baby. Everything after that was just bonus content kind of way. He's 3 years older, a marketing guy, the kind of person who uses synergy in casual conversation and thinks he invented oat milk because he posted a TikTok about it in 2020. He got a full ride to college, lost it because of academic burnout, translation, too much weed, not enough lectures, and my parents paid his tuition out of pocket because he needed support. When I asked for help covering a community college course, my mom told me, that's what loans are for. The thing is, I didn't even hate Jake. Not really. I hated who I became around him. Invisible, smaller, like I was constantly apologizing for taking up air. So when Jake moved back in to reset after a breakup with some yoga influencer named Kiki, I knew I was screwed. Within a week, the entire house bent to accommodate him. My dad let him set up a literal espresso bar on the kitchen counter, which meant my cheap instant coffee got shoved to a drawer labeled non-essential pantry. I got yelled at for leaving crumbs on a couch that I didn't even eat on. Jake did, but of course he was busy brainstorming. Meanwhile, I was treated like some basement-dwelling parasite. Every time I passed my mom in the hall, I'd get a new passive-aggressive comment. Job hunting today? Still on the couch? You know your brother networked his way into a VP interview last week? One time, I came home from a grocery run with a frozen pizza. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, maybe if you cooked real meals, you wouldn't be so sad. The worst part? I started believing it. That I was this burden. That maybe I really did ruin their chance at a peaceful retirement. That maybe Jake earned the praise, the fridge space, the good towels. Until last Sunday, my niece, Jake's daughter from a fling with someone he refuses to name, was over for the weekend. She's 6, cute, smart, way too observant. I was reading on the porch when she came out, sat next to me, and whispered, my daddy said you're what happens when someone wastes their 20s. I didn't flinch, just nodded, and asked if she wanted to learn how to fold paper cranes. But that night, I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling and wondering if I was really that forgettable, that pathetic. Then came the invoice, and the envelope I left in return. That should have been the end, right? But the story wasn't done. Not even close. Because at 6:12 a.m. the next morning, I got a voicemail from my dad. Consider this your final notice. Pay the amount, or we file. You've taken enough from this family. No good morning. No, are you okay? Just a legal threat for emotional damages. And that's when I knew. I wasn't going to just leave. I was going to take something with me. Not money, not stuff. Something they actually valued. By the time I rolled back to my friend Jenna's place, my car smelled like fast food and panic. I hadn't cried. Not exactly. But there's a kind of silent sobbing your body does when it's too exhausted to make sound. That's where I was. Headache behind my eyes, fingernail marks in my palm from clenching too hard. Jenna opened the door still in pajama pants and just said, "You can stay as long as you want," like we'd rehearsed this moment. We hadn't. But I think she could see in my face that whatever happened back there wasn't regular family drama. This was some Cold War, zero hope, line drawn in blood level shit. I collapsed on her futon, didn't speak for hours, just stared at the wall with the hum of her air purifier in the background, trying not to let my mind spiral. But it did anyway. Because what kind of parents send their kid a literal invoice for being a disappointment? What kind of people raise you, then bill you for the therapy they might need because you didn't smile enough at Thanksgiving? And then came the rage. Not hot and loud, but the cold, surgical kind. The kind that narrows your focus. The kind that whispers, "Okay, you want to talk about damage? Let's talk about what you actually value." So, I gotta work. See, my parents don't understand the internet. Not really. They treat Wi-Fi like black magic and think Facebook privacy settings are a conspiracy, which is wild considering how much of their life is online. My dad's side hustle, his coaching business, where he sells motivational ebooks to midlife men named Chad, was built almost entirely by me. I designed his site, linked his payment system, even wrote a few of the fake testimonials. My mom? She runs a healing crystal Etsy store I helped set up. I made her logo, took her product photos, set up her shipping system. I didn't do it for money, just wanted to help. I always wanted to help. But they never once called me entrepreneurial, never once introduced me as the one who made this possible. No, I was the parasite, the couch goblin, the depressive weight dragging them into financial ruin. So I started pulling threads, deleted my admin access to their websites. Number 2 obvious. I did something worse. I logged into my dad's Calendly and accepted every spammy fake appointment that came into his inbox, booked him solid with nonsense names and broken email addresses, replaced his website's bio with an AI-generated paragraph about toxic mushroom foraging, switched every image on my mom's Etsy to pixelated, cursed versions of her crystals. One looked like a cursed Minecraft object. Her bestseller listing was now titled, "Emotional Damage Mineral, Handle with Care." It took 30 minutes. Then I waited. At 9:03 a.m., the first text came from my mom. "Did you touch my shop?" At 9:05, a voicemail. "What did you do? Fix it now." At 9:08, another, "I'm serious. You're ruining my livelihood." And then at 9:17, a new voicemail from my dad. His voice cracked. "Please, just undo it. Your mother's on her knees crying." I didn't hit play on the others. Didn't need to. I just laid back on Jenna's futon, stared at the ceiling, and whispered to no one. Good. Now we're even. Update 1. All right. South first off. Holy hell, I did not expect this to blow up like it did. I posted that last part thinking maybe a handful of people would read it. Maybe a few would relate. Instead, I wake up to DMs. Reddit awards? Someone telling me I should monetize the trauma? LOL what? And one guy who legit offered to consult on how to burn their house down metaphorically and literally. Some of y'all are unhinged. I love it. But seriously, thank you. To everyone who said, "You're not crazy, you didn't deserve that," or just sent a stupid meme to cheer me up, I owe you. More than my parents ever will. And yeah, I read the comments. The ones asking if I regret what I did. The ones warning that I might have pushed too far. The ones wondering if I'd really hit send on a digital nuke over some passive-aggressive crystal seller and a middle-aged man named Mark who thinks motivation is a brand. Here's my honest answer. I didn't just hit send, I aimed. Because when you grow up being the family scapegoat, when every failure, every outburst, every weird energy shift becomes your fault, it rewires you. You start thinking, maybe if I just explain better, they'll hear me. Or if I fix one more thing, maybe they'll finally say thank you. And when they don't, when they double down with an itemized bill for existing, something breaks. Quietly. Permanently. That's where I was when I wrote, "Then sue me for every memory you gave me," on that envelope. Not in a movie villain way, just exhausted. Out of empathy. Out of apologies. So what happened after? Oh boy. At 10:11 a.m., I got a text from my cousin Tasha. Dude, what did you do? Aunt Diana's at grandma's sobbing like someone died. Then another, from Jenna's roommate. Some lady is banging on the door screaming your name. Do I call the cops? Spoiler, it was my mom. Yeah, she tracked me down. Not hard, I guess, since I'm dumb enough to post selfies on Instagram with Jenna's cat, but I wasn't home. Jenna handled it like a champ. Didn't open the door, just texted me a play-by-play. Apparently my mom stood outside crying, wailing, literally saying the words, "He dismantled our lives. He broke us." It took every ounce of restraint not to reply, "No, I just returned the favor." My dad finally texted again, not angry this time, just cold. "You've made your point. Now be a man and fix what you broke." I stared at it for a while. Then I typed, "You want me to fix the digital stuff? Fine, but you're going to fix something first." No reply. So I sent one more thing, a Google Drive folder. Inside, a backup of every photo, video, memory I'd ever digitized for them over the years. Family vacations, my brother's school plays, our dog's puppy years. But all the files were renamed with one message. "This is what you risked over $3,600 and a bruised ego." I haven't heard back since, but I know it's not over. The thing with people like my parents is they don't believe in apologies. Not real ones. If they say, "Sorry," it comes with a clause. "Sorry you felt that way. Sorry you misinterpreted. Sorry you took it personally." You could catch them with a smoking gun, and they'd say, "Well, maybe you shouldn't have made us pull the trigger." So after the meltdown at Jenna's door and the silent treatment that followed my Google Drive stunt, I knew what was coming next. A campaign. Not an apology. A full-blown multi-platform pity parade. It started subtle. My aunt emailed me a link to a GoFundMe. No message. Just the link. Title, "Help Diane and Mark recover from family trauma." The goal, $10,000. The description, vague and manipulative as hell. After a devastating betrayal by someone we loved, we're trying to rebuild. It never mentioned me by name, but the comment section sure did. Then my dad posted a video on Facebook. This man, who once told me therapy was for people who can't handle reality, sat in our kitchen, red-eyed, voice trembling, and said, "Sometimes the people you raise turn out to be strangers, and sometimes those strangers destroy everything you built." My mom appeared behind him, clutching a Bible like she was auditioning for a soap opera, and whispered, "We just want our family back." I watched it 5 times. Then I threw up, because I knew they weren't heartbroken because I left. They were heartbroken because I left with power, because I took back the one thing they never thought I'd question, the narrative. See, I was always the quiet one, the helper, the fixer, the background character in the Jake show, and they loved that. It made me controllable, predictable. But now I was unpredictable. And to people like my parents, that's dangerous. So I did what they never expected. I started talking. Not revenge, not blackmail, just the truth. I wrote a long post. No names, no specifics, just the shape of the wound. About what it means to be the child who's always too much or not enough. About emotional invoices and spiritual manipulation. About how love, in my house, always came with a receipt. I posted it on Medium, shared it quietly, no drama. And then something weird happened. People read it. Strangers. Classmates I hadn't talked to in years. Even one of my old teachers who messaged me, "I always wondered why your eyes looked so tired at 16. It went small viral. Not millions, but enough. Enough that someone sent it to my mom. She called Jenna. Didn't ask for me. Didn't ask if I was okay. Just whispered, "Tell him to take it down, please." People are asking questions. My church group thinks it's about us. Jenna didn't respond, but I did. I emailed my mom one line, "You raised me on guilt. I just finally learned how to speak your language." I didn't expect them to retaliate the way they did. Maybe I should have. Maybe I forgot what it's like when image-obsessed people feel cornered, when they realize the mask they've worn so tightly for years is slipping, and the neighbors might see. It started with a Facebook post. From my mom, of course. She uploaded an old family photo. One from a vacation we took when I was maybe 10. Jake is front and center, mid-cannonball. My dad's got that stiff, performative smile. My mom's in one of her early, boho spiritual phase outfits. And me? I'm barely visible. Off to the side, not even looking at the camera, wearing a shirt that said NASA, because back then, I still believed I'd leave this world someday. The caption, "Some people forget where they come from, but we never will." The comments, full of distant cousins and church friends and ex-co-workers all chiming in with some version of, "You raised them with so much love," or "Kids these days have no gratitude," or the real kicker, "You deserve better than this, Diane." And Jake, Golden Boy Jake, he comments, "Wish we could go back to those simple days, before the drama." I didn't reply. I didn't even screenshot it. I just stared at that photo for 10 full minutes, jaw clenched so hard it hurt, because I realized something that genuinely made me go still. They weren't mourning me. They were mourning the idea of me, the useful version. The version that kept their systems running, stayed quiet, posed for the picture, and made it easy for them to look good in public. They missed the function I served, not the person I was. And then came the final blow. Jake sent me a text. Short, cold, corporate. We're issuing a formal cease and desist if you don't remove that blog post. It's defamatory. Dad's lawyer is drafting a letter. I laughed, out loud. Sitting at a diner with Jenna and her roommate, syrup stuck to my fingers and a half-finished coffee going cold. I read it to them, and Jenna just said, "Wow, did he really use 'we're issuing' like he's a startup with a legal team?" But I wasn't even mad. I was calm. Still, the way you are right before a controlled demolition. Because what Jake didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I still had the old family cloud drive, the one they never changed the password to, the one I set up back in 2014 when Jake kept forgetting how to send baby pictures to our grandma. And buried in that cloud? A video. One they forgot existed, a 10-minute recording from my dad's old camcorder. Thanksgiving, 2017. It starts sweet. Mom lighting candles, Jake bragging about something. I'm in the background, washing dishes even though it's not my turn. Then the volume picks up. My dad starts talking, drunk, slurring. He jokes that, if Jake ever screws up, at least we've got the backup disappointment. Everyone laughs. My mom clinks her wine glass and says, "Well, some kids bring joy. Others bring bills. No one tells them to stop. Not even me. I just dry the plates, quiet, mechanical, like I knew I was furniture. I watched it all, alone. Then I downloaded it, because if they wanted a war of narratives, I had their real one in my pocket. I didn't plan to weaponize it at first, the video. When I downloaded that old Thanksgiving recording, the one where my parents turned passive aggression into a holiday tradition and called it love, I thought maybe I'd just keep it, a reminder. Proof I wasn't crazy. But then came the family reunion. Annual thing. Usually a backyard buffet of overcooked burgers and undercooked apologies. This year, my mom and dad decided to host. Of course they did. Nothing says we're totally not spiraling, like planning a party for 40 people and pretending you didn't emotionally evict your own kids 6 weeks earlier. Jenna begged me not to go, said it was a trap, but I wasn't going to go. I was going to send something. A gift. See, every year they play a little slideshow on the backyard projector. Photos, videos, feel-good clips from past reunions. Usually it's Jake narrating, all smooth voice and performative charm. And here's little Ellie on her first day of preschool. There's Uncle Rob grilling with one glove because he's a legend, etc. This year, I uploaded a file to the shared family Google Drive titled 2023 Highlights. They didn't question it. My mom texted me a dry thanks with a emoji. I guess she thought maybe I was trying to make peace. Maybe she believed, just for a second, that the old version of me, the quiet fixer, was coming back. Nah. The night of the reunion, I waited. I got the first message at 7:14 p.m. from my cousin Kyle. Did you mean to upload that video? Then from Tasha, bless her chaotic heart, iconic. And finally, at 7:19, from Jake. Take it down, right now. You've embarrassed everyone. Because here's what I sent. That 10-minute clip. No edits, no captions, just raw footage. Thanksgiving 2017. My dad laughing about backup disappointment. My mom nodding along, sipping wine, tossing out a line about how some kids just don't pay off. Jake smirking. Me drying plates, quiet and invisible in the corner. And then, my voice. Software. Almost too soft to hear. I say, "You know I'm right here, right?" No one replies in the video. Not one person even looks up. That was the final moment. Then it faded to black. I heard later there was chaos. That my aunt yelled at my mom. That my uncle took his kids home early. That someone knocked over the table with the potato salad and it landed in the koi pond. I don't even care if that last part is fake. It's perfect. But the real prize, the voicemail I got at 11:42 p.m. My dad, breathing heavy. Then, "Congratulations. You blew it all up. Happy now?" Then my mom, her voice cracking, "Please, just undo it. Your father can't even look at himself. The neighbors are asking questions." I didn't reply, but in my head I whispered, "Then maybe you shouldn't have raised me to be invisible. I learned how to disappear too well." Update 2. All right, last time I posted, I figured that was the end of it. I nuked the reunion, exposed the family's greatest hits reel of shame, and disappeared back into peaceful obscurity with Jenna, her judgy cat, and a playlist full of sad girl synth pop. End of season. Roll credits. Right? Nah. Turns out, my parents are the kind of people who double down when they lose control. And this time, they didn't come with rage. They came with strategy. It started 3 days after the reunion fallout. I got a knock at Jenna's door. Not a call, not a text, an actual knock. Jenna peeked through the window and immediately turned to me like, your mom is standing outside holding what I think is a Costco cake in a manila envelope. I thought she was joking. She was not. My mom stood there, stiff smile, makeup cracking like a stage mask, holding a sheet cake that said, "Family First," in blue cursive icing. Next to her, my dad, silent, tense, and behind them, a man in a beige suit. My parents brought a lawyer to my friend's house. I didn't open the door. Jenna did, because she's braver than me, and honestly a little too excited by drama. My mom asked very politely if they could speak to me about repairing the damage done. Jenna said I wasn't available. My dad shoved the envelope at her and said, "Then give him this." The lawyer didn't speak, just nodded once, like some Bond villain's assistant. Inside the envelope, a 2-page letter. Official-looking, legal letterhead. It started like this: "Mr. My name. This letter serves as formal notice that your recent actions may constitute defamation, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress." I skimmed it. I didn't shake. I laughed. Because right there, stapled to the back of the letter, was a printed screenshot of my Medium post, the one that didn't name a single person, the one filled with someone I knew and a family I was once part of. They wanted me to take it down, issue a retraction, publicly acknowledge the harm caused. But here's the kicker. They also offered a settlement. Yep, my parents were willing to pay me to shut up. $3,600, the exact amount from their original invoice. Like they thought if they paid me off with my own symbolic number, I'd come running back with gratitude. I didn't reply. Instead, I wrote one final update to my post. I added the photo of the cake. I attached a redacted version of the letter. I told the story. No rage, no drama, just facts. Then I ended it with this: "You can send me a bill, you can send me a cake, you can send a man in a beige suit, but you can't buy back what you broke. I don't want your money. I want peace. And I'll find it. Just not with you." The post went viral. Like, actually viral. I got interview requests, a podcast offer. Someone sent me fan art of the cake with "Family First" written in flames. And now my parents won't speak to me. Jake deleted his Instagram. The GoFundMe mysteriously vanished. But my Medium account? Still up, still thriving. And every time someone new reads that story and messages me, I thought it was just me. I remember, sometimes the best revenge isn't fire. It's being seen. So here we are. Final act. The emails have slowed. The firestorm has died down. I'm not getting random messages anymore from people named Healing Mom 85 telling me I should repent for airing family business online. And my parents? Silent. Like the whole house got vacuum sealed in shame. But something wild happened last week. I got invited to speak, not as that kid who posted about his parents, but as a guest on a small community panel for adult children navigating toxic families. I almost said no, because honestly, I'm not some expert. I'm just a guy who got sick of apologizing for taking up space in his own story. But I went, and I told the truth. Not the Medium post, not the drama. Just the moments that shaped me, like sitting in my own living room, age 13, while my dad told a room full of relatives that I just wasn't built for success. Like overhearing my mom say, "He's got a sadness in him. It drains the whole house." And how I used to believe them, for years, until one day I didn't. After the panel, a girl maybe 22 came up and hugged me without asking. Said her mom once billed her for wasted groceries and she thought that was normal. Another guy told me he'd read my post and finally cut off the cousin who kept calling him the family regret. People cried. I did too, a little. And then I realized they didn't come to hear how I got revenge. They came because I said something that sounded like the truth. Their truth. The one no one else dared name out loud. So now, I live in a tiny apartment with bad plumbing and a crooked floorboard that makes my whole desk wobble. Jenna's cat still visits. I sleep better. I cook more. And the other night, for the first time in maybe a decade, I played music out loud while cleaning, like a full volume, no headphones dance session in socks, and I smiled. Because the house I grew up in never had music that wasn't performed. It never had joy that wasn't posed for pictures. And now I get to choose the soundtrack. They wanted to sue me for emotional damages? Fine, let them keep their damages. I've finally started collecting interest. Thanks for coming on this ride with me. And if you're reading this thinking, "Damn, that sounds like my family," you're not alone. And you're not the broken one. They just never knew what to do with something that didn't shine the way they wanted it to. Shine anyway.